This week, Adam and I discuss selections from the forthcoming anthology book, Producing the End of the World, some well-done and sometimes even funny short comics about the end of existence. First, if you appreciate the work we do on this podcast, we'd love it if you'd support the show at patreon.com/deconcomics for as little as $2 a month. Check out our goals and rewards and pledge your support now at patreon.com/deconcomics. This is Tim.
And this is Adam.
And this is Critiquing Comics. Welcome to Critiquing Comics. This is Tim in Tokyo, Adam in Nagoya. How are you?
Good. It's been a while since we've talked.
Oh, yeah, that's the game that Kumar and I are always playing on Deconstructing Comics. When was the last time we recorded together? And then, getting into my files and looking it up. Oh, wow, it was back in March. It hasn't been that long with you, but...
Yeah, I don't think so. It's probably been a couple months, right? So...
Possibly. I've kind of lost track.
Yeah. Easy to do.
Yeah, anyway. What we've got this time, it's part of an anthology that's currently being kickstarted. It's called Producing the End of the World, and they've sent us the press advance copy, which has just 4 of the stories in it, and each one is like 8 or 10 pages. It's going to be 160 pages total. But as just a teaser for the press, they put together this one with 4 stories in it. And the stories, some of the stories don't even have titles or credits, although I was able to get all of the titles and credits from the Kickstarter page, which I will link to. So why don't we just kind of go through the 4 stories that are here? It's kind of nice to be able to do it this way because... 160-page anthology is kind of tough to cover on a podcast. This is a nice, manageable size. So the first one, which has no title or credits, I figured out that this is the one called Pitch Meeting.
Okay.
Written by Mario Candelaria and art by Jeremiah Sheik, 8 pages. And, yeah, it is a pitch meeting, or it's one of a series of pitch meetings, apparently, where people are going to this sort of a board of directors or something and presenting their idea for how the next apocalypse should be done. Right. I didn't quite grasp, like, where and when are we here.
Yeah.
At one point it's mentioned, like, the 1970s are the future, so I didn't really understand quite the setting here. But I assume that this board, I don't know, were they some sort of on a cosmic level?
Yeah, there are some hints here. So I thought when I was reading this, either the writer is Jewish or Christian or something like that, because there's a lot of little subtle things there. So the board chairman, his name is, they call him Elohim, which is the Hebrew word for God.
I didn't notice that one. The presenters, I figured out. So the one that we're hearing presentation, he's referred to as Bel, which I assume is short for Beelzebub.
Or Belial, maybe, which is like a Hebrew word for the devil.
Okay.
Which, I thought maybe it was either one or the two. And Beelzebub may actually come from the same root as Belial, I'm not sure. But.
Maybe. At the beginning of the story, the presenter who is leaving is referred to as Levi. Did you get what that was a reference to? I mean, there is a Levi in the Bible.
Yeah, he's one of the patriarchs, but I don't know if it's from that or not, actually. I'm not sure. But this guy, so Bel, he calls him Bel when he's leaving the room, but when he's introduced in the beginning, they call him Daystar, which is that's the translation of Lucifer. So I think he's supposed to be, an incarnation of the devil, one of the incarnations of the devil. And So I think this was so the title "Producing the End of the World" made me think, like, that was the title, and then the very first story is this one, and I thought, oh, it's going to be like a pitch meeting where all these different people can propose how the world's going to end, and then God eventually chooses what is the best or something. And I thought that was a really fun idea for the story. Unfortunately, it ends right there, but yeah, it was kind of cool. So I think that's the premise, is that you have God and then some other kind of, I don't know, creator beings, or maybe just angels or something like that, and then these various other kind of cosmic beings or devils or whatever they are coming and proposing how humanity should end.
The next presenter, who we see at the end, is referred to as Gabe, so I wondered if he was the angel Gabriel.
Oh, probably. Yep, probably.
And he looks like kind of a geeky guy. Maybe that means that he's a goody two-shoes. He's an angel. I don't know.
Yeah, that actually makes sense then, because, if Lucifer was originally an angel as well, maybe these are all just different angels that are coming and presenting their idea for the end of the world. And there is also another clue that Elohim is God, because in the, during the pitch, he says we can't just do another flood. So it's referring to the Noah myth, right? So,
where was he called Daystar? I missed that.
It's just as he's entering. I think he says it's the first person leaves, and then he's making his entrance, and I think he says,
"Oh yeah,
Mr.
we're
Daystar
ready if you are Mr. Daystar." Okay.
Yeah.
And the pitch that he makes is for humanity to screw itself over with, pollution and stuff.
Yeah.
Global warming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm going to bury the little bit here, because the second story is also sort of
it's in the
similar
same,
to this one in
same
spirit.
vein.
Right. So those two stories made me think that this was all going to be a kind of ecological, disaster story or something like that. But then a whole bunch of them that don't have, the other stories don't have anything to do with that. But I guess we can talk about the second one.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're all, obviously the theme of the book is the end of the world, but lots of different. And some of the ones that aren't in this book that are mentioned briefly on the page also sound interesting. I'd like to read the rest of them. But yeah, the second story is called The Opal Idol, written by Gary Proudly and art by Rob, Gauran, Gaughran.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is kind of a oddly structured story. Because it starts out with a few pages of this bard who is singing a summary of what's been happening in this world and how the military leader is coming in, and he's looking for the opal idol, and finally the military leader gets bored and punches out the bard, and he's going to go get the idol, and grabbing the idol causes the world to end. And then we have, on the last page, there are a couple of aliens who have been, well, I don't know if I want to spoil it anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. With an anthology like this, it's kind of hard to know how far you can spoil it, because every story is only a few pages, and it's not like you're spoiling the whole book. But yeah, I guess I'll follow your lead. I won't spoil anything, but I do think I agree that it is it has a really hard right turn. It's this kind of this ancient civilization, and they're all wearing essentially loincloths, and then all of a sudden it goes into these aliens who have set up some kind of elaborate kind of test for humans. What I did like about this story, though, was, maybe this is going to spoil it after all, but I liked that he said, your test only has pass or fail, and one human can ruin it for everybody. And I kind of thought that was an interesting, whether it was intentional or not, that was an interesting critique on a lot of religions, because you basically have this, when you think about, for example, Adam and Eve, all of humanity is essentially doomed to either damnation or salvation based on whether or not one guy decides to eat an apple, right? So the fall of man is all based on this one thing, and he has either the choice to do it or not. And so I don't know if that was the intention of this story, but I definitely feel like a lot of organized religions basically hinge on that point where one person can ruin it for everybody, and the test is not really a performance test so much as it is just you either do the thing or you don't, right? So I don't know. It was kind of an interesting take. And I thought that the art, getting into away from the story itself, the artwork in this one was probably my favorite out of the stories that are here. Well, that's not true. I really liked the final story that about the music concert, but the artwork here was really accomplished, I thought. And yeah.
Well, I think the art is pretty good to excellent in all of them. And I thought the stories overall were more interesting than I've seen in a lot of anthologies that have been sent for us to critique.
Yeah. I don't know about all the other anthologies, but I do feel like that theme of the end of the world could be taken so many ways, and a lot of them are really obvious, but this book doesn't have any obvious stories. They're all a really creative take on that theme. So, and I kind of thought they weren't just about, like, there's kind of two meanings of producing the end of the world. There's producing the end of the world as in making the end times come about, like causing them, through burning fossil fuels or whatever, or actually producing in like a creative sense, like, doing a pitch meeting for how you're going to blow it up, or
like a Hollywood sense.
Right. Or the final story, which was, what song are you going to play to, sing humanity out of existence or whatever. So
coming up, we discuss the other two stories in the press teaser for Producing the End of the World, including an endless storm and a rock concert. Don't forget you can help to unlock classic early episodes of Deconstructing Comics, help me return all the old episodes to this podcast feed, get videos of my brother Paul and me discussing 20th century TV trivia, and at the $4 level, get access to hours of additional full-length podcasts. At the $10 level, you can review the book of your choice with me here on this show. Support Deconstructing Comics and our other shows at patreon.com/deconcomics. Or you can send a one-time donation via PayPal to mail@deconstructingcomics.com. We appreciate your support.
Greetings from Wayne Manor Memoirs, a podcast dedicated to exploring the Batman mythos.
Each episode, we research a character, story, contributor, or piece of pop culture related or adjacent to the Dark Knight,
and try to understand why these topics are important to the Bat mythos. I'm Joe.
I'm Kendall, and some of our favorite topics include the transformation of Mr. Zero into Mr. Freeze,
the early appearances of the Riddler,
Booster Gold,
Commandi,
Jim Aparo,
and many, many more. Check out Wayne Manor Memoirs every other Friday, wherever you download your podcasts.
And follow us at Wayne Manor Memoirs on Facebook or at W Memoirs on Twitter.
Until next time, Bat Fanatics, be brave
and stay bold.
The third story, I think, is the one I'm having the hardest time grasping. And this one, the title and credits are in the book, in the press copy. Dark Storm, written by Adam Burt and art by Richard Kemp. And so there's been something pretty bad has happened. The world is flooded. There's this like endless storm going on. And there are these two young women who are going around in a boat, and the one is narrating about how much she loves the other one and wants to kiss her, but she can't because she's sick. She's caught something from this flood water, apparently. And they're trying to get somewhere because they think that they can get at that location, turn off the storm.
Right.
And it looked like the place was a nuclear plant.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me too.
And I felt like there was some sort of symbolic thing going on here. I wasn't quite sure what to think about the story, or I didn't arrive at a conclusion about it. Is maybe a better way to say it. What were your thoughts about it?
Well, so this sort of, in a sense, it continued the theme from the first two because it is about humans creating our own destruction, and this is, far into the future when humans have already kind of ruined the world, and so now it's flooded and the sky is all dark and there's kind of a perpetual storm and all of this kind of stuff. But and because it was from a nuclear power plant, it made me sort of think that might be like a nuclear winter, but I'm not really sure. It doesn't seem like it was after a war. It seems like it was more just a pollution and stuff, because it does say that people had a chance to escape and they didn't, that they just waited until the floods took them away and stuff. So it seems to me that it's not really necessarily grasping at some bigger point, other than it's just saying, like, how will future generations make sense of how dumb we were to let the world, to destroy the world that we were living on. So I think it's just these two people trying to make sense of it. And so there's a mythology to it, or there's like these rumors, maybe we can turn the storm off or something like that. But I don't know if there's a bigger point that they're trying to make. I'm not sure. I do think, here's my one take on this, that a little bit of a criticism as far as the storytelling goes is the way that this woman, she keeps saying, I just want to kiss her and stuff. It's a little bit creepy at times, when she says stuff like, maybe I can be a hero and then she'll give me a kiss, at least, or maybe now she's crying and she's in pain. This might be the chance to get that kiss or something like that. And it just seemed very much like that kind of friend zone kind of thing that you always hear people talking about, like that these people feel entitled to being a romantic object if they are nice to the person or something. It sort of had that vibe to it, to me. I don't know, maybe I'm reading into it, but that's kind of how I felt.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, according to the narration, they have kissed in the past. It was initiated by the other woman, so...
Okay, maybe I missed that.
There seems to be some mutual feeling there.
Yeah.
I didn't really pick up the creepy vibe.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. Yeah, maybe it was me reading into it. I do think this one was, out of the four stories, this one was the one that it didn't grab me quite as much as the other ones, both in terms of art and story. But it's still I think it's well done, and I don't think it would be, I think in a less accomplished anthology, it would stand out as a good piece. I think that this has so many good, strong stories and art pieces that it, maybe falls back a bit, but...
By the way, I should mention, so this is being, as I understand it, and I might be screwing up here, but being promoted by an organization called Soda and Telepaths, which I believe is based in Australia. So I'm not sure, but I think some or most or all of these creators are from Australia.
Okay.
But if I'm wrong, please correct me, Soda and Telepaths. But that's my understanding.
Okay, yeah, I didn't... It's interesting when you say that now, because when I was reading it, I didn't really have a sense of place or anything. Like the way that the stories are told, the way they speak, felt like it could be anywhere. It could easily be American creators or Canadian creators, so...
And the fourth story in the book, so let's see. The fourth story is called The Last Song Played Will Not Be Freebird. Written, then the title comes at the end. Written by Alex Dandino and art by Chris Mauro, which is a really sharp art job.
Very sharp, yeah. I will say the backgrounds are a little bit sparse. There's a lot of like just one character standing there with just kind of a color treatment in the back, but it's done in a tasteful way that you don't really feel like anything's missing. But I do feel like, the character design and the drawing, the actual draftsmanship is very, 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 very good. And the color is very nice. I personally like this story the best, just because it was just kind of it's such a funny it's such a funny and very human way to tell the end of the world, like what's going to be our last song, like that you would be thinking of something so meaningless and mundane as that at the end of the world. And everybody's so calm.
There are these young people at a concert, and there's a rock band on the stage, and I guess I don't think they're performing, they're like preparing to perform.
Yeah.
And these people are talking about what should be the last song before the end of the world. And it's like such a mundane, nobody seems to be like terrified or
right
anything.
Right, but
it's
there's a
like,
meteor speeding towards Earth right at the moment that they're talking, and so, I like that. And I just so he's saying, oh, are you guys going to play the REM song? And so immediately that song pops in my brain because I'm a kid. I went to high school in the 90s, so I'm thinking of that end of the world as we know it. And then they're like, no, that's too obvious, we got to do this one. And just the idea of like fighting over what is the best music to usher out the end of the world, and the fact that he says, what song do I want to hear when the world ends, and what song is the best song, are totally different questions. And I kind of like that idea. So
yeah. Okay, so all these stories are fun, and I'm interested in seeing the whole thing when it comes out. So, and like I said, I'm linking to the Kickstarter, so take a look at it. If it looks interesting, maybe give them a few bucks.
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you would like us to critique your comic, send a PDF or a link to mail@deconstructingcomics.com, and we'll take a look at it and talk about it here. So, thanks for listening, and thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Tim.
Check the show notes for the link to the Kickstarter page for Producing the End of the World. You can help Deconstructing Comics, Critiquing Comics, and all our podcasts by joining us on Patreon at patreon.com/deconcomics, and go to deconstructingcomics.com to connect to us on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, to shop on Amazon to support the show, and to find links to subscribe to the podcast. Our theme is from bensound.com. Next Wednesday on Deconstructing Comics, Emmett talks with Irish creator Debbie Jenkinson, author of the graphic novel Ghosting, a romantic misadventure set on public transport. Till then, this is Tim, and thanks for listening to Critiquing Comics.